You check the price of a home battery, and something doesn't add up. You've heard, more than once, that battery prices have collapsed, that the raw materials are cheaper than ever, that this is supposed to be the moment when storing your own electricity finally becomes affordable, and yet, the number on your screen is still 5 figures. Somewhere between what you were told and what you're actually being quoted, something is missing. And once you understand what that something is, you'll never look at a battery quote the same way again. Let's start with what almost nobody tells you, because it's the detail that makes everything else make sense. The battery cell itself, the actual piece of technology that stores the electricity, has gotten remarkably cheap. According to Bloomberg NF, prices for lithium-ion battery packs fell to around $108 per kilowatt hour in 2025. Some versions built specifically for stationary storage, the kind used in a home, dropped even lower, closer to $70 per kilowatt hour. That's not a small improvement. That's roughly a 93% decline over the past 10 years. If you had told someone a decade ago that this was coming, they would have assumed home batteries were about to become an easy purchase for almost anyone. Think about what that kind of price drop usually does to a product. When the cost of making something falls by 90%, the price on the shelf almost always follows it down. That's what happened with flat screen televisions. That's what happened with solar panels themselves over the last 15 years. The raw component gets cheaper, and eventually, the finished product gets cheaper too. So it's reasonable to expect the same thing happened here. But here's the number that doesn't match that story. When you look at what homeowners actually pay to have a battery installed in the United States, the price isn't $70 or $100 per kilowatt hour. It's closer to $700 to $1,300 per kilowatt hour, with the average landing somewhere around $1,000. Do the math, and you'll notice the gap immediately. The finished product, sitting in someone's garage, costs 7 to 10 times more per kilowatt hour than the raw battery inside it. That's the part worth sitting with for a moment. This isn't a case of the ingredient staying expensive while marketing adds a small premium. The core component became dramatically cheaper, and the final price barely moved. So the obvious question becomes, where does the rest of that money actually go? Most people assume it's one simple thing. Maybe the installer is charging too much. Maybe it's just a new technology tax, the kind that fades as more people buy in. Both of those explanations feel reasonable, and both of them are only a small part of a much bigger picture. The answer isn't a single cause. It's a stack of separate forces, layered on top of each other, and most homeowners only ever see the total, never the layers underneath it. Start with something the Department of Energy's own research labs have quietly documented for years. When they study the cost of installing a battery system, they split it into 2 categories: hardware and what they call soft costs. Hardware is the battery, the inverter, the wiring, the physical parts you can actually touch. Soft costs are everything else: labor, design, permits, inspections, customer acquisition, office work that never touches the actual equipment but still has to be paid for. For a massive utility-scale battery project, the kind that powers a whole neighborhood, those soft costs get spread across an enormous amount of capacity, so they barely affect the price per kilowatt hour. A single permit, a single engineering review, gets divided across thousands of kilowatt hours of storage. But for a single home, installing one battery in one garage, those same categories of cost don't shrink at all. A permit still needs to be filed, whether the battery is small or large. An electrician still needs to show up for the same number of hours. An inspector still needs to sign off, regardless of the size of the system. All of that overhead gets divided across a tiny amount of storage capacity instead of a massive one. That's part of why residential battery systems consistently cost far more per kilowatt hour than storage built at utility scale, even when they're using very similar underlying technology. It's the same basic reason a single slice of pizza at a small shop often costs more per bite than an entire pizza split among friends. The fixed costs of making it don't change much, but the amount they get divided across does. So the first hidden layer is simple. A home battery is a small, custom project, and small custom projects are expensive by nature, no matter how cheap the core material becomes. But that's only one piece of the picture, and it's not even the most surprising one. Here's where it gets more interesting, because the next layer has nothing to do with labor or permits at all. It has to do with where the batteries actually come from, long before they ever reach an installer's truck. According to industry analysts, more than 90% of the lithium-ion cells used in the American storage market are manufactured in China. That's not a minor supply detail tucked away in a spec sheet. That's the foundation of the entire industry. Nearly every battery installed in an American home traces back, at some point, to a factory on the other side of the world. And starting in 2025, the United States began raising tariffs on those imported cells. Section 301 tariffs, originally set at 7.5%, were scheduled to climb toward 25% by January of 2026. On its own, that might sound like a modest adjustment. But when you stack that increase on top of other trade measures introduced around the same time, some analysts calculated the cumulative tariff burden on certain Chinese-made battery cells reaching well into the 50 to 80% range through 2025 and into 2026. Now think about what that means in practice, because this is where the story gets almost contradictory. The cells got cheaper to manufacture. At the very same time, the cost of bringing those same cells into the country got significantly more expensive. Two forces moving in completely opposite directions at the same moment in history. And the second one turned out to be strong enough to cancel out much of the benefit of the first. Clean Energy Associates, an industry research firm that tracks these trends closely, estimated that these tariff increases alone could raise costs for U.S. companies assembling storage systems by roughly 11 to 16%. Sometimes more, depending on how much of the assembly work happens domestically versus overseas. So a homeowner shopping for a battery in 2026 isn't just paying for the cell, the labor, and the permits. They're also indirectly paying for a trade policy decision made in Washington, one that has nothing to do with how the battery performs on their wall. So now you understand two real reasons prices haven't followed the cells downward: small-scale installation costs that don't shrink, and tariffs that push import costs upward. But there's a third one, and this one is less about global trade and more about a decision made much closer to home, on paper that homeowners sign every year around tax season. For years, homeowners who purchased a battery could claim a federal tax credit covering 30% of the total cost. It made a real, measurable difference. A $10,000 system effectively became a $7,000 system on paper once tax season arrived and the credit was applied. That credit existed under a section of the tax code known as 25D, and it had been extended out to the early 2030s, giving homeowners years of predictable planning room. Then, in the middle of 2025, that changed. A new piece of legislation, signed into law on July 4th of that year, moved up the expiration date dramatically. Instead of phasing out gradually over the better part of a decade, giving the market time to adjust, the credit for homeowner-purchased batteries was cut off completely, effective for any installation completed after December 31st, 2025. No gradual step-down. No transition period stretched across a few years. If the system wasn't fully installed by that date, the 30% credit simply wasn't available anymore. Full stop. Picture what that means for someone considering a battery in 2026. The exact same system, with the exact same hardware, the exact same installer, and the exact same price tag on the invoice, now effectively costs about 30% more out of pocket than it would have the year before. Not because the battery changed, not because the company raised its prices, purely because of a policy change that had nothing to do with the technology itself. The battery didn't get more expensive. The safety net underneath the purchase simply disappeared, almost overnight. At this point, you might be thinking that between falling cell prices, rising tariffs, small-scale installation costs, and a disappearing tax credit, you finally have the full picture. That's already three separate forces working against the price coming down. But there's one more piece, and it might be the one that affects people the most directly, because it doesn't happen at a factory or inside a congressional committee room. It happens at the kitchen table, during the sales pitch, in a conversation most homeowners have exactly once in their lives. Many homeowners don't pay for a battery system in cash. They finance it through a loan, often arranged directly by the company installing the system, sometimes signed the same day as the sales visit. And this is where consumer protection researchers have found something that deserves real attention, something documented by an actual federal agency rather than assumed or guessed at. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau published a report describing something the solar and storage financing industry commonly calls a dealer fee. Here's how it works, in plain terms. A company installs a system with a genuine cash price, let's say $20,000. But if the customer finances that system through a loan instead of paying cash, the loan principal gets quietly increased, sometimes by 10%, sometimes by 30% or more, before any interest is even calculated. The report found that this markup is often built directly into the loan without being reflected in the advertised interest rate, which makes the loan look far more attractive on paper than what the customer actually ends up owing over the life of the loan. Think about how strange that is for a moment. Two homeowners could sign contracts for what looks like the exact same battery at the exact same advertised rate and end up owing meaningfully different amounts, simply because one of them financed the purchase through a lender that built in this kind of fee and the other didn't. This isn't a rumor, and it isn't a guess. State attorneys general have taken legal action over exactly this practice in more than one state. In Minnesota, an investigation found that 4 major solar lending companies had added roughly $35 million in hidden fees across nearly 5,000 loans, inflating costs by 15 to 30% in many individual cases. Similar cases have been filed more recently in Virginia and in New York City, involving hundreds of millions of dollars in loans altogether. And in some cases, allegations that the fees weren't just added quietly, but that installers were contractually forbidden from even telling customers the fee existed. Think about what that means for someone who assumed the number on their loan document reflected the true, honest price of their system. In some documented cases, it simply didn't. A meaningful portion of what they were paying wasn't for equipment or labor at all. It was a fee layered invisibly into the financing itself, hidden unless someone knew exactly what question to ask and exactly which document to request. So here's where all of this leaves us. Once every layer is placed side by side, the battery cell became remarkably cheap, cheaper than almost anyone in the industry expected a decade ago. But by the time it reaches a homeowner's garage, it has passed through small-scale installation costs that don't shrink the way large utility projects do. It has absorbed tariffs that pushed import costs upward at the exact same time manufacturing costs were falling. It lost a tax credit that vanished overnight instead of tapering off gradually over years. And in some documented cases, it picked up financing fees that were never clearly disclosed to the person signing the contract. None of these forces created the price entirely on their own. No single one of them explains the whole gap by itself. But together, layered one on top of the other, they explain almost the entire distance between what a battery is worth in raw materials and what people are actually asked to pay for it once it's sitting on their wall. This matters beyond simple curiosity about where money goes. If you're someone weighing whether a battery makes sense for your home, understanding these layers changes how you shop for one. It means asking directly for the cash price before ever discussing financing options, so you have a true number to compare against. It means checking carefully whether a quoted price already assumes a tax credit that may no longer apply to your specific installation timeline. It means recognizing that a low advertised interest rate doesn't automatically guarantee a fair total cost once every fee is added in. None of this requires distrust of the technology itself. The technology has never been better, safer, or cheaper to produce than it is right now. What requires real scrutiny is everything that happens in the space between the factory floor and the signature line on a loan document, because that's exactly where most of this hidden cost tends to accumulate. Understanding where the money actually goes doesn't just satisfy curiosity. It puts you in a stronger position, whatever you decide to do next, whether that means moving forward with a purchase, waiting for the market to shift, or simply asking better questions the next time someone sits across your kitchen table with a contract in hand. If you'd like to explore some helpful resources, you'll find them in the description.